was too young to take the throne, and there had been a dispute as to which of Dalangyeobo's 3 older sons should serve as regent until Sabata came of age. Gadla, Nelson's father, recommended Jungin Taba, despite the fact that his mother came from a lesser house. Gadla held that Jungin Taba was the best educated of the 3 and would be a good mentor to Sabata. After some argument, the tribe agreed. Now Gadla was dead, and Jungin Taba was returning the favor. The great place was magical, combining Western-style houses with African beehive-shaped huts. The men wore Western suits, and the women dressed in long skirts and high-necked blouses like missionary wives. Mandela went to the nearby Methodist school and worked as a plowboy, wagon guide, and shepherd. He was a brother to Jungin Taba's son, Justice, and daughter, Nomafu. The regent provided discipline, affection, and lessons in leadership at the frequent tribal meetings held in the palace courtyard. Any Tembu man could attend such meetings, and many did. Mandela was startled by the blunt criticism the regent received, and tolerated. Jungin Taba sat silently until every man had his say. After patiently listening for many hours, the regent would sum up the arguments and subtly guide the discussion toward a consensus. But he forced no decisions. If agreement couldn't be reached, another meeting would be called. It was yet another way of leading from the back. Mandela was taught African history and took an interest in African nationalism, listening to the stories of the chiefs and headmen who came to the great place to adjudicate disputes. They told of warriors all over the region who had fought Western colonization. One elderly chief, Zweli Bangila Joyi, was especially eloquent, assailing the white man for dividing blacks and trying to foist off Queen Victoria as their true chief. She brought nothing but misery and perfidy, Joyi said. His stories, Mandela wrote, made me feel angry and cheated, as though I had already been robbed of my own birthright. At the age of 16, after the elaborate Xhosa circumcision ritual that turned a Xhosa boy into a man, Mandela followed his older foster brother Justice to the Clarkberry Boarding Institute, which offered the best education open to black Africans in the Tembu district. By his own admission, Mandela had become a bit stuck up because of his royal lineage and privileged life in the great place. At Clarkberry, he was a bumpkin who had to learn to wear shoes and catch up with other students both in class and on the playing fields. Never a brilliant student, Mandela struggled all his life to pass tests, but he began the dogged work habits that carried him through. He finished his 3-year junior certificate in 2. Mandela also found his first girlfriend, a fellow student who became the model for all his future relationships with women. With a woman, I found I could let my hair down and confess to weaknesses I would never reveal to another man. He worked in the garden of the headmaster, Reverend C. Harris, a kind but outwardly stern disciplinarian who was dedicated to teaching blacks. From Harris and his wife, Mandela got his first intimate sense of the life of a white family. For the first time, he was taught by people with college degrees, some of them black Africans, and he was impressed by one black teacher, Ben Mashlasela, who was confident enough to disagree openly with the headmaster. When he left Clarkberry, Mandela imagined his life would be in Tembuland as a counselor to the king. His horizon widened, however, when he moved on to Heldtown, the Methodist university where Tembu royals were educated. The principal, Arthur Wellington, was a descendant of the victor at Waterloo, and the students were indoctrinated in the superiority of all things British. We were taught and believed that the best ideas were English ideas, Mandela wrote. The best government was English government, and the best men were Englishmen. It was here that Mandela made his first friend who wasn't a Xhosa, and met a teacher who had married outside his tribe. I began to sense my identity as an African, not just a Tembu or even a Xhosa, he recalled. Mandela was made a prefect, helping to supervise and discipline his fellow students. One rainy night, several students chose to urinate from the veranda onto the bushes below rather than walk to the outhouse. Mandela